Hello everyone, welcome to our presentation. My name is Hien, Hien. I'm come from Group 3 with my friend Anh Duy, Nguyet, Minh and Hong Nam. And today we are going to talking about static testing in software engineering. So let's drop into it. This is all the contents of today. The first one, we will tell you about the definitions, how many types of static testing. The second one is participants, the techniques of static testing, the advantages and disadvantages of static testing, and the last one is the differences between static testing and dynamic testing, as well as we will introduce you some tools used in static testing. So at first, I will tell you about the introduction. What is static testing? Static testing is a software testing method that involves examinations of program code and its associated documentation, but does not require the program to be executed. Static testing also calls run testing. Static testing requires programmers to manually read their own code to find any errors, so hence named static. Static testing is a stage of white box testing. The main object of static testing is improve the qualities of software products by finding errors in early stages of the development cycle. And most static testing techniques can be used as any form of document, including so-called design documents and models, functional specifications, and requirement specifications. Next, we can perform static testing in two ways. The first one is by reviewing the work product, which is manually examinations. And the second one is static analysis, which is tools-driven evaluations. My friends will tell you more details the techniques after that. So this is all about the introduction. For the next part, I would like to invite my friends Mai Ngoc Anh Duy to talk about the participants and the techniques we use in static testing.
Okay, hi guys, I'm Mai Ngoc Anh Duy and I will tell you guys about the participants and techniques of static testing. So, first of all, we will talk about the participants. The first role in the team is the moderator, which is also the review leader. He will perform entry check, follow up on the rework, schedule the meeting, coach other team members, and finally is leading the possible discussion and storing the data that is collected. Secondly, the author will illuminate the unclear areas and understand the defects found. The basic goal should be to learn as much as possible with regard to improving the quality of the document. The third one is the scribe. This is a separate person to do the logging of the defects file during the review. The fourth one is the reviewer, which are also the checkers or the inspectors. They check any material for defects, mostly prior to the meeting. The manager can also be involved in the review depending on his or her background. Last but not least is the manager. This guy will decide on the execution of reviewers. He will allocate time in project schedules and determines whether review process objectives have been met. Okay, so that's all for the participants. Next, we will talk about the techniques. So, static testing techniques will consist of two types which is the review and static analysis. And in the review technique, this is the process or technique that is performed to find the potential defects in the design of the software. It is processed to detect and remove errors and defects in the different supporting documents like software requirements specifications. People examine the documents and sorted out the errors, redundancies, and ambiguities. The review techniques consists of 4 types. The first one is the informal type. In the informal review, the creator of the document put the contents in front of the audience and everyone gives their opinion, and thus the defects are identified in the early stage. The second type is walkthrough. This is basically performed by experienced person or expert to check the defects so that there might not be problem further in the development or testing phase. Next one is peer review. Peer review means checking the documents of one another to detect and fix the defects. It is basically done in a team of colleagues. Last one is inspection review. This type is basically the verification of document. The higher authority like the verification of software requirement specifications. So the next type is static analysis. This type is done automatically by the tools that we will provide and introduce to you guys later. And now we will talk about the 3 types of this. But first, let me introduce you what is static analysis. This static analysis includes the evaluation of the code quality that is written by the developers. Different tools are used to do the analysis of the code and comparison of the same with the standard. It also helps in following identification of following defects, which are unused variables, dead code, infinite loops, variable with undefined value, and wrong syntax. The static analysis consists of 3 types. First one is data flow, which is related to the stream processing. Next one is control flow, which is basically how the statements or instructions are executed. The last one is cyclomatic complexity, which is the measurement of the complexity of the program, that is basically related to the number of independent paths in the control flow graph of the program. Okay, that's all for the participants and techniques. Let's move to the next part.
Hello everybody, my name is Hong Nam. Now I will present about some advantages and disadvantages of static settings. After we finish part 1 and part 2, we already know the overview of what is the static settings, the technique of static settings, as well as the roles and the techniques of each participant when they using the static settings. So now I want to tell you some advantages and disadvantages of this technique. First of all, I want to tell you some advantages of static settings. The first is these techniques help us to detect defects more effectively, and their defects will be fixed before performing dynamic settings. The second is The dynamic testing can help identify defects that are not easy to fix by dynamic testing. Thereby, it will help the dynamic testing more correctly. Besides that, it can prevent defects in the design or coding. The next is because the redo work is significantly reduced, so the productivity will be increased very much. And the next is, as I mentioned above, because this technique has the ability to identify the defects in the early stage of the software development cycle, so it can reduce the development and testing costs and time. In the last one, because this technique requires the multiple participants to contribute the ideas, so it can improve the communications among team members during the assessment. Besides that, here are some of the advantages of this testing techniques, but besides that, it had also some drawbacks, and now I will tell you some disadvantages of this testing techniques. The first, because the static testing is done manually, so it can be time consuming. The second is the automated tools have the language restrictions. That means they are only works on the sentence programming languages. And in the last one, the automated tools are unable to identify the weak points that may create troubles in the runtime. Above are some advantages and disadvantages of static testing. Thereby, I hope you can use this technique correctly to your project and your software. And in the last part, my friend Minh will show you the tool that we use for the static testing. And finally, thank you for listening.
So now I will present the last part of our presentation. Talk about the difference between static testing and dynamic testing. Then I will show you some tools that for static. First, in dynamic testing, the whole code is executed while the static testing does not. The static testing does the verification process and prevents the defect, while dynamic testing does the validation process and help finding and fixing the defect. Static testing gives assessment of cost and documentation, while dynamic testing gives focus of the software system. About the static testing involves checklist for testing process, and dynamic testing involves the test case. Static testing performed in early stage, while dynamic testing performed at the last stage of the software development. Static testing includes walkthrough, code review, inspection, and dynamic testing involves functional and non-functional testing. Dynamic testing is usually more time-consuming, more expensive, but it relatively requires fewer meetings than static testing. While static testing needs more review, dynamic testing needs more defect common to get highly recommend for good quality. So you some tools for static testing. First, I will talk about test-style. Test-style is a static code analysis tool used in software development for checking if JavaScript code complies with coding rule or not. And next is about Firebird. Firebird is an open source static code analysis which detects possible bugs in Java program. Potential errors are classified in four ranks. First is scary. Next is scary. The third is troubling, and the last is concern. This is a hint to the developer about their possible impact or severity. But now we can use the sensor fiber which called pop-up. And the last tool is about PMD. PMD is stand for Programming Mistake Detector. It is an open source static code analysis that reports on unusual files within application code. It does not report compilation error, as it only can process well-performed files. Unusual reports by PMD are rather ineffective code or bad programming habits, which can reduce the performance and maintainability of the programming if they accumulate. It can analyze file written in JavaScript, PL, SQL, Aperture, Velocity, or XML. And next module, I will give you an example about test style. Now I will check this code with test style. As you can see, the test style just helps us to find out the code that violate the rule but do not suggest how to fix them. Then you need to fix those violations by yourself to avoid coding conversion error. That's all of our presentation. Thank you for listening. If you have any question, you can contact us. Thank you.